Not a lot of substance, but just a little bit of heart. Hey guys, so I just saw Southpaw. I should have seen it last week, but I've kind of not been able to see any movies lately because I've been doing a bunch of work and whatnot. But anyway, so here's the review. I love me my boxing movies, and I don't like them really for much the story. It's for the fight scenes. Boxing in movies looks really cool. In real life, it's okay, but in the movies, they're able to take punches after punches after punches, and in round 10 they still have the exact same amount of energy they have in round 1, which is complete bullcrap. But I'm the guy who's seen all the fight scenes in all the Rocky movies and still has not yet seen any of the Rocky movies in full. So when I was going into Southpaw, I expected two things. I expected a phenomenal performance from Jake Gyllenhaal. This guy was able to go from really skinny, really creepy, and really clever dude in Nightcrawler to big, huge, buff and kind of dumb guy in Southpaw. But before I get into the characters, one thing I want to say, this film has pretty much every single boxing film trope known to man. Every single one. Now admittedly, it's difficult to try and come up with a new premise for a fighting movie. The most creative one I can think of was Warrior, with the two brothers fighting against each other, but other than that, that's it. So with Southpaw, I expected a bunch of tropes and cliches, but I didn't expect this many. Sure, some of them are tweaked ever so lightly in certain directions to try and make them a little bit different, but in the end, it's going to be the exact same boxing movie you've seen before. But going back to the performances, all of the leads in this movie are fantastic. Except for him. I have no idea how 50 Cent keeps getting acting jobs. He was terrible in the movie about himself. How does he keep getting a job? He's crap! So other than 50 Dump here, everyone in this movie was really good. Forrest Whitaker was really good, Rachel McAdams was really good, and of course Jake Gyllenhaal was really good. A great surprise as well was the little girl. She was really good. The chemistry between Jake Gyllenhaal and her was so good, it felt like a real family. Now, you know that's kind of a cliche thing to say, but their chemistry, their interactions with each other were fantastic. It was like watching an actual drama unfold before you. Didn't seem that theatrical. It actually seemed very real. But unfortunately, that realism passes over into the boxing part, which was the second thing I wanted to see in this movie, and the fights were okay. That's the best I could say. There's nothing really dramatic about it. There's nothing really signature. Like, some of the camera angles were interesting, and Antoine Fuqae is known for doing that with some of his movies, especially with King Arthur, where they had a camera looking upwards as two guys were fighting above the camera. That was sweet, but nothing really happened in this movie. In all the fighting scenes, there really isn't a definitive win. There's not this... There is kind of something that happens at the end, but other than that, there's... I don't know, the fight scenes just aren't that great. They dip too much into realism, but then they don't dip enough. For instance, at the beginning of the movie, he supposedly goes 10 rounds with this guy, and his face looks pretty fine. He even has enough energy to still have sex with his wife, supposedly. If you went 10 rounds, you'd be dead. Not only would your body be broken, but God, dude, you just basically have your wife work you because your abs will be non-existent. So the fighting really isn't a strong suit in this movie, but the thing I have to say is while the fighting isn't that great, and while the story is quite cliched, it's the performances that keep this movie rolling. I'm serious. Jake Gyllenhaal does another fantastic performance that he's probably not going to get a nom for. Essentially, this isn't a really kind of a movie he would get a nomination for, but still, fantastic. Out of all the boxing movies I've ever seen, I think this film has the best performances all around. Now, I know you have The Fighter, which has 2 Oscars from it, and yes, those 2 are great, but those 2 were not really the fighters. There was the family dynamic. But for a straight-up, everyday boxing movie that literally just focuses on the boxer, this is the best performance from the boxer character himself I've ever seen. This was fantastic. And Jake Gyllenhaal, he did a great job, and everyone else did, except for 50 Poop. So in the end, my final rating for this movie, I'm going to be quite lenient. I'm going to give it a 4 to 7. Now, while I said the story is predictable and the fight scenes aren't super great, it's still an all-around decent sort of boxing film, and Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, man, it is so good. And same with the little girl. She's going to go places if she keeps this up. And also, this is the last movie that James Horner ever got to do before he died in his plane crash. And, you know, he had some really signature sort of music standards that he did with this film, especially the drums at the beginning. Also, I did a James Horner tribute show on my radio show. I played a bunch of soundtracks from movies he did throughout his entire career, so if you guys want to check that out, link in the description. So anyway, guys, that's all from me. Hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys later.